And we're recording.
I love it.
Okay. Introduce yourself.
My name is Abby Sheneman. I am a licensed clinical social worker and I am pursuing my PsyD in grief counseling, amongst a lot of other things that have just happened this week.
Yes, you are. And we've also been friends for a very long time.
Yes, we have.
So,
So
you
many
know,
years.
yeah, we've seen each other grow through many things, many stages. So I'm excited to have a conversation with you tonight because we have a lot to talk about.
Yes, we do. We definitely do. And you get to ask questions that you always wanted to know the answer for. No, I'm just kidding.
So, just like let's start off with how did you come to do what you do? What was the catalyst that set you in this direction?
So that's a big backstory, but I'll condense it down.
Okay.
I used to be a cosmetologist. So I went to school for hair and I was working down in Manayunk probably for about 2 years at a pretty well-known salon. And one time later through my career, I can't even remember. I do know it was November because it was poignant in it because of the roads, but I got in a really bad car accident. And I was laid up for about 2 weeks and I was talking to my mom and she's like, well, you need to figure out what you're going to do because if you can't hold your scissors, how are you supposed to work? She's like, that's a huge part of your job. And so I sat there and I kind of came to terms with it and it derailed a lot of my plans, but I went back to college and I went for criminal justice.
Hmm.
So segue into working at the county in Bucks at domestic relations, which I worked there for about 10 or 12 years, and I worked my way up and I became a domestic relations support officer. So lots of fun stuff there. And by the seventh year, I really didn't love what I was doing. I really wanted to help people, and I didn't feel like I was helping them in the way in which I wanted to. So I decided to go back for my master's in social work. And then through that program, which was really intensive, I decided that I wanted to do trauma work. And then that led me into a shortcut into a conference with my late best friend that led me into sex therapy. And then the catalyst of losing her led me into grief counseling. But these are all things that I had always been interested in. So
Right.
that brings us to date, I believe.
It does. It absolutely does. And the interesting thing was you just did something very big because of your work. So,
I did. Which
and
big thing? Because there's several.
well, we will get to that, right?
Yes.
You just completed, or I should say, the a show that you were on was just released,
Yes, that
which
was Monday. Yeah.
yes. So I'm excited to dig into that and see
Yes.
my friend on a reality show because I have some questions about the nature of reality shows in general because like Alice has been on a reality show. I've known a few other people that have been on reality shows, and it's just behind the scenes is probably like really interesting. Um,
It is. Yeah.
so let's just we'll jump right into that. Like,
Sure.
what's what's it? What? How did you come to get an invitation to be on the show or get invited, or how did it all come about?
Yeah. So this all kind of tail ends. I went to an ASECT conference, and that is the American, what is it? I'm gonna screw up the acronym, but it's basically sex educators, sex counselors, sex therapists. They all come together and they do a consortium. And there I met a lovely human by the name of Nicole. And I had gone with my friend Amy to this conference, and there was a person doing hypnotherapy there. And I sat down with them. They did a little bit of hypnotherapy. And then I talked with Nicole, and then we disconnected, and that was in a June time frame. And several months later, I get a call saying, "Would you like to do surrogate partner therapy?" And I said, if you want to tell me more about it, I'll weigh my options and I'll figure out if it's something I want to do. And at that point in time, I literally just left a private group practice to open my own private practice. So this is right before COVID.
What a
So,
time.
yeah, I know, right? I'm like, what an amazing time to start my own therapy practice. But, feet, what is it? Like frying pan into the fire, I believe the saying is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I met them. I started doing work with them. And I learned all about surrogate partner therapy. And we operate by the triadic therapy model, excuse me, which is the therapist, the surrogate, and the client all sit together and figure out best practices for the client. Um, Not every person that goes through surrogate partner therapy has sex. That's not the goal of surrogate partner therapy. Surrogate partner therapy is, I mean, it's part of it, but not everybody gets there. Not everybody needs that, because the idea is we're putting them with a mental health clinician as well as a surrogate to, in real life, figure out how they operate inside of relationship. If they need more communication skills, if they need more trauma treatment, if they need more emotional intelligence growth. We give them a wide sweeping range of modalities to operate within, one of them being hypnotherapy as well. Um, and I usually ended up with a lot of clients that had trauma backgrounds because that was my specialization. Um, Sidebar, I do EMDR and IFS therapy, so I've movement desensitization reprocessing, which is amazing for trauma. And I
Oh, I know
incorporate,
EMDR.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Um, and what is IFS? Inner family systems, which is getting in touch with all of the parts of yourself and really integrating them and recognizing that this current version of self is the one that's in charge. So whenever anybody else, and I don't mean like personality disorder, but like your wounded child part or like your bitchy teenager part, if they show up, you get to have the conversation internally and deal with those pieces. And I couple those together to really integrate for the benefits of my clients. So I've been utilizing that inside of some of the somatic work or the exposure work, because a lot of surrogate partner therapy is pretty much like exposure work, especially for people who maybe have gone through some sexual abuse, maybe have gone through some emotional abuse, maybe are fearful of touch. So that is the work that I started doing with them. And I really loved it. I had a lot of growth edges inside of that. And then, long story short, I was working with them up until, and I still work with them, but I got a phone call one day and they said, and I can't even remember who actually reached out to me, but they said, would you be interested in, talking to us about the surrogate partner work that you do? And I said, well, sure. And they said, well, would you consider doing it for a reality show? And I said, I'll consider it. I said, I want to talk, and we'll see where it goes.
Right.
So that brings us to last year in Croatia.
Right.
Yeah,
So exactly. Yeah. I forgot to mention it was in Croatia,
it was in Croatia.
a beautiful island.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
It was wild.
Yeah, I mean,
It,
just to be like, well, yeah, I get to go hang out on an island for what? How
it's
long
like
was it?
2.5 weeks.
Two and a
I,
half weeks. What?
yeah,
Why
I
not?
wasn't complaining one iota.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you get to do probably some cool leisurely stuff at some point. Or no, was it all just all filming?
It was a lot of hurry up and get ready and then kind of hang tight because tons of different things are happening all at once.
Yeah.
And me, true to form, I would work and I would write my papers for my doctorate.
Hmm.
And so there would be like points where I would just like kind of lean back in the sun and kind of have a nice time. Like we did have certain days that we got off, but I don't, I want to, it was definitely had to be on call essentially, which
Yeah,
I'm kind of used to. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's it's funny, like Alice was a big fan of watching The Bachelorette or The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and stuff. And he's
Mhm.
like during those rose ceremonies, she told me, she's like, they drag these out for so long. These go on for like hours, actually. Um, so her telling me that, me seeing that, I'm just like, oh wow, there's definitely another side to like everything that goes into filming each frame of this series and everything like that. So what's what happens when you get there and you meet everybody?
I know. I'm like, what did happen? And I have to be very conscientious with how much more. Just because of the sheer fact that it's releasing slowly over there
Right,
and
right.
not here at any capacity.
Hmm.
But you get there, they settle you in, you kind of get brushed up on the ways of like how things are going to go down, what they hope it's going to be like. And I do have to say they were very conscientious and considerate of saying like, look, we could plan for like all of these things to happen and none of it'll happen.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense because we're dealing with not just one human, but a whole bunch of different humans. And it very much was like the whole universe, man plans, universe laughs. It is
Hmm.
very much kind of like that.
Yeah.
But it was fun. Like it was a really neat time. I was there with two people that I had known prior. And I'm like I'm now kind of like linking things. I'm like maybe they got my name through them, but I still to this day have no idea how they got to me. Regardless of it, very cool.
Yeah.
But you're there and you're just like taking it all in, and you're on this island, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, we're stuck here. What do I do? And I'm like, well, I'm going to listen to my textbook. I'm going to write a bunch of papers. I'm going to chat with my friends. I'm going to watch my nonsense TV at night because that's just enjoyable for me. But just being there it was surreal. It
Yeah.
definitely was. So I was just like,
Did you have your own room?
so the way that this place was set up, it is like an eco-friendly conservation kind of like private island that you can do retreats at. So if you can rent the whole damn thing, apparently. Um, but they had these cute little square cubby containers with sliding glass doors. You walk in, the bed is right in front of you. There's like a little walkway to each side. There's like a little sink, and then there's like a little closet over the one side, and then there's like a little bathroom behind the little sink. And it's like very cute, very compact, everything that you could possibly need. And then there's like all these little like yurts, and then these like little teepee tents, and just very rustic and
Hmm.
adorable and cute. And very adorable lizards, I will add. They just like would cruise up on your stairs and they'd just be like, hey, and I tried to make friends with them, of course, but they
Yeah,
wouldn't.
yeah.
But at night apparently there were like snakes and rats, which is fine, like not
Yeah.
my habitat, but also I was just like, okay, so we're not going out at night.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm. But really, really cute and sustainable, eco-friendly. I don't know how the whole thing worked. I just sat there and like looked in amazement and watched all the little ships go around the island. I was like, this is amazing. It's pretty.
When you, I'm assuming you got there by boat.
We did. We did. That was, yeah.
Were you on a boat with everybody else, or did you go alone?
So we were all of the coaches and practitioners, I'll say, I'll use language like that language, like all the practitioners came over together.
Hmm.
And then what we found, what was shown, like it's very delicate. I'm like,
Yeah,
how,
no, I get it. I get it.
like,
Yeah.
how do I not give spoilers? And then there's introductions, but
Got it.
it was very much like, okay, pause. Okay, start.
Yeah.
Okay, pause. Okay,
I'm
start.
I'm assuming you guys were on the island first before the
We
guests.
were, we
Yeah.
were. So like I know production was there way before us to set everything up. I
Hmm.
don't know how long they were there before us. And then we were there maybe a day.
So you had a little bit of time to settle in.
Yeah. And then it was like get your call list,
Hmm.
get everything together. And it's not this was 100% not scripted by any capacity.
Hmm.
Um, but you get background info, especially like for being a therapist, like I need to understand like what everyone's coming in with. So
Hmm.
I get that information. Um, we all got together and talked about things. And then there's always like a check-in. There's always a checkpoint. There's always like, even if it was like had nothing to do with TV or anything, it's just like checking in, making sure everybody's healthy, making everybody's well. And they had their whole own other group for that as well, which was really nice. So what I didn't realize when I first agreed to do all of this was that I was the only clinical mental health therapist. And I was like, oh, fun. But I also did have the support of a really amazing human and all of the team of the channel and everybody that put it together in production. And really, I couldn't have asked for a better experience for like dipping my toes in this pond.
Hmm.
So it was as well as it could have gone.
Hmm.
I think I'll summate in that way.
Would you do it again?
Oh, absolutely. I
Yeah.
I absolutely would do it again.
Do you,
Um, go ahead.
do you think um do you think it was a success for the people that attended?
Yeah,
Okay. Well
absolutely.
then that's yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the motivator for me. And you know me better than anybody. Like I could care less if I get any kind of anything. The fact that I was able to help other humans in this capacity really lit me back up
Hmm.
and reminded me why I do certain modalities that I do,
Hmm.
and reminded me why I do it the way that I do it. And I couldn't have asked for something more.
Yeah. No, I get it. And that's really nice to hear if when you go through an experience like that and it really lights a fire.
Yeah.
That's an amazing feeling. Um, feeling that purpose. Um, like, viscerally too.
Yeah, like it got me back in touch with things that I needed to reconnect with.
Yeah.
And I felt really connected with my friend that kind of led me down this path, and that was really healing for me.
Yeah.
So that was really poignant.
So I'm trying to understand, um, like, what is the typical person or people that come into your clientele for work?
I mean, I get a wide sweeping range. Um, and I'm very
Age
upfront.
ranges,
Oh yeah, so like I will go as young as 16
mhm,
with new clients. Um, that's a little bit not harder, I don't want to say harder, but like I'm very conscientious and cautious of the modalities that I will utilize with them. I
mhm,
have a lot of people that will just contact me and say, I want to do EMDR. And I'm like, okay,
mhm,
I'm going to tell you how I operate.
right.
And the way I operate is I really want to get to know you. I really want to check in with your well-being. I want to make sure that you're ready, willing, and able to be prepared to do an intensive therapeutic treatment like this because the whole concept that was given to me when I went through the program was you go in with a wheelbarrow, you come out with a dump truck.
Okay.
And it's a lot.
Yeah.
And you don't think you're going to go where you go.
Mm,
And one thing I will share, like I'm not a huge fan of like, let me disclose my personal life for the benefit of your therapy. I only do it
right.
when appropriate.
Right.
Um, but what I will share with my clients is every single modality that I utilize is something I've gone through myself.
Yeah.
Whether it was like experientially, like through a training, or whether I did it as a modality to treat some of my pieces that I needed to work upon.
Hmm.
So any grab bag item that I utilize, I've done it. So I understand a little bit of the reaction that could come up and happen. Um, and so I educate them very much on the idea of like, okay, we're gonna go back in, we're gonna open some stuff up, and it's not gonna go away.
Hmm.
It like we can contain it, we can like do a safe place protocol around it, we can make you, feel happy and sunshiny. And also, if somebody in your life during that week after we've opened up one of your treatment phases activates something that was part of that, you're gonna just like project all over them.
Uh-huh.
And it's really interesting. And like I don't like want to scare my clients, but I also want to prepare them. Like it's not just like, oh, you just do this thing and it just magically goes away and you never feel it again and you don't have to deal with it.
Hmm.
Like I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, I would happily wave a wand and be out of a job if I could do that. Like I would find something else to do. I'll open a puppy shelter. Like I will find something else to do.
I will work at your puppy shelter.
Yay. Yes, come on. And puppies, lizards, frogs, all the things.
Yes.
Monkeys, yes.
So, um, I I generated an article on EMDR,
Okay.
and it's it's very intriguing, and I've never had the opportunity to do EMDR.
Hmm.
So, for those who are gonna view this and don't know what EMDR is, why don't you go into detail about how EMDR works and why
Okay.
it works?
Yeah. In the simplest of terms, it came about when Laura Parnell, I always screw it up. She was walking with a friend and recognized she was talking about a traumatic or overwhelming experience, and she noticed that her eyes were going back and forth. And they'd speed up and they'd slow down, and it would elicit a lot of emotion. And after a lot of research and a lot of like practicing on friends and colleagues and whatnot, she recognized that it was the bilateral movement of the eyes that were tapping into the left and right brain. And when you're doing that with a traumatic instance, what happens is that depending on speed, it activates the implicit and the explicit. So the memory that you have and the language that you don't have for that emotional reaction that you're experiencing. And so the way that it kind of feels like, if I could even like pull into my own experience, was, and I'm an interesting person because I process through songs. So I will sit there and I will have a wave of emotions and then I will connect a song to it.
Hmm.
And that is what helps me re-regulate and then basically kind of reintegrate the emotion. So you're reprocessing that emotional experience and actually like putting it back in that time so it's not popping up and being reactivated in the here and now.
Mm.
Uh, so it's like taking like a traumatic car accident. You go
Hmm.
through a car accident, you don't really remember what happened. You remember these pieces, but they're extremely fragmented. And you try to pull up the memory and you can't, and all you do is get upset about it. It takes that upset away so that when you talk about it, you're not reacting to the emotion anymore. You're just saying like, oh yeah, and I was in this really bad car accident and it ended a career. And it's okay. I figured it out and I moved on from it. And it was like, it was really impactful, but it also didn't like, it doesn't really affect me anymore.
Hmm.
And like to this day, that is how I can speak about my car accident and a wide variety. Sorry, Watson is joining. Um, Dr. Watson's here.
Yeah.
So it really allows for the reintegration of putting emotions back to the space, place, and time where they belong. So it's very, very neat process.
So, and with that in mind, you
Mhm.
can kind of take somebody anywhere to remember any kind of memory. Would that be correct?
You can, as long as they have a pathway in.
Okay, explain.
So what we do is we find like a keystone memory, and it's your earliest, most upsetting memory.
Hmm.
And then the way that I was trained was you do five keys, so like a primary keystone, and then five memories before the age of 18, five memories, depending on the age of the client, five memories after the age of 18 that elicit strong emotional reactions that you have an actual picture, a negative cognition, a negative thought about yourself of like what that event meant to you and what it meant about you as a person. And then you try to come up with the emotional responsivity of it and like on a scale of 1 to 10, like how emotionally reactive is it? And then how true do you believe the negative cognition about yourself? So the negative framework, like I'm worthless or I'm awful, to what you want to believe about that, like I did the best I could, or I am okay with the person that I am.
Hmm.
And you test that and you go back and forth and you start the stimulation and you check in as you go. And that's the kind of tricky part because it's like I can see when people are having reactions. I can like, and I will only do this treatment. I mean, I've done some virtually, but I prefer, so let me not use all or nothing language. I prefer to do it in person
Hmm.
because of the sheer fact that I can see the whole person. I can see how their feet are. I can see how they're shifting. I can see if they're, tilting. And also like with technology being great and also not great, I don't like glitches. So I want to make sure I'm not like, oh, let me stop your processing to say, is our connection good? Like,
Yeah, right, right, right.
you know, like
Exactly.
I know you're crying right now and you're really overwhelmed and traumatized again, but let me just check our connection. Like, and you know as well as I do, like that is my personality that gets to come out just in my
Right,
head during the sessions.
right, right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a neat protocol. And and that's one of the reasons why I'm very educational upfront about it with my clients because I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, I'm happy to do this when we both know each other somewhat well
Hmm.
and when we're ready to go. If I have somebody that comes to me with a history of doing therapy and I, get clearance and release of information to speak with their prior therapist and they say, yeah, they're ready to go, they're primed and ready, happy to jump in and then or if I'm working in tandem with another therapist, then I'm happy to kind of just facilitate the EMDR protocol with the client. And, as long as they feel comfortable and safe with me, I'm ready to go. But like usually that it'll take about 2 or 3 sessions before somebody's like, okay, yeah, I'm feeling safe with this rando stranger that I
Right.
have no idea who is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, I was wondering, when we first started, I forgot to ask,
Yeah.
how long has surrogate therapy and stuff like this existed?
Oof. Not a direct, accurate date, but for some time.
Okay. Yeah.
It's been around. And I'm saying probably, and I'm probably gonna get like thwacked for this, but like 20 plus is where my initial indicator is going. Um,
And I assume like anything, it's an evolving field of study.
yeah.
We
And
we
well,
learn
and
more.
so you could even go back to Masters and Johnson and
Hmm.
look at the studies that they did
Yep.
and you could pinpoint and say that they were one of the pioneers. And so I mean you could even go back to Freud and look at his work and say yeah, no, he pioneered some of the earliest work about like sex and emotionality and what it means to be a person. So it is but like we stand on the shoulders of giants.
Right.
And I have to thank my old supervisor for that statement because I was just like damn dog, yes, that's true.
So, well, I'm assuming you didn't do there was no EMDR on the island, or was there? Or can you even? Is that a
I'm
spoiler?
trying to, I know I did a safe place protocol for one of my colleagues on the
Okay.
island.
What's a
So
safe
I
place
can say,
protocol?
yes, there
What's
was.
okay.
Because
Explain.
I did it for a colleague that was like feeling really, so in the safe place, too much. The safe place protocol is the calming protocol that we utilize before we ever do any reprocessing.
hmm
So, like mine to this day, like if I pull it up, I just get this amazing like washover of my like parasympathetic nervous system. And like I'm just thinking about it right now, and I'm like, yeah, man, that feels good.
So it's something. Okay. This is very interesting.
Yes.
Your safe place protocol is something that sticks with you that you can just snap out of like thin air.
Yes. Uh-huh. And it's like, and I offer to do this for my friends, and I'm like, if you want, I'll do this for you
Yeah.
because that's like, it's a nice thing. It's literally a visualization
Uh-huh.
of a place that is not connected to anything upsetting. You could make an imaginary place like if you've seen Shawshank Redemption, I know it starts off weird, right?
hmm
But the tree in the field,
Yeah.
that is my safe place, that gigantic tree.
Yeah.
And then I personalized it and made it my own. But
Interesting.
the visualization of that tree and the peace and the calm that that equates for me is like it like I can just sit there and I'm like, yeah. And I don't even like I used to have to close my eyes and like just be really like in touch with myself and kind of just like really amplify it and make it bigger. But now I can just sit here and talk about it. And I'm like, yeah, that's because it's just this nice, really mellow, chill, like wave of
hmm
calm.
Yeah.
And so you do that protocol, and then I tell my clients, I'm like, practice it. Get pissed off at something. I'm like, bring something. So for me, it's like people driving like uneducated drivers.
Right.
That is something that will irritate the bejesus out of me. So I will sit there and I'm like, okay, yep. And I'll notice like how quickly I can be irritated
hmm
and how quickly I can be relaxed.
Yeah.
And it is one of the coolest things in the entire world. And I'm like so grateful that it exists. But it's such a huge help.
I have a safe space.
Yay.
I didn't even know I had a safe space until
No?
right now.
Okay.
But yeah, my safe space comes from the throes of my first ayahuasca experience.
That- all right, like not where I thought you were headed, but that I mean,
Well,
yeah.
I was in my bed, safest place in the world,
Hmm.
in my own room,
Hmm.
and I'm just having a vision of a toroidal field, uh, you know, one of
Hmm.
these guys, the shape of an
Yes.
apple. If you like cut an apple down the side and you look in the
Uh-huh.
apple, it's the toroidal field. So, just this universal flow of energy, we'll say. And I recognize it inside of myself, coming out of myself, coming back around. And I just understood that that was just like the breath and the heartbeat of God,
Oh man.
and that I was never separate from that, no matter what. And I would always be that, no matter what form I took, no matter what dimension I went to, whatever I was doing, I was just visiting temporarily. So
Oh,
I
you're going
just,
into some awesome transcendental stuff for me. So I'm like,
well, I am completely thankful for that experience. And I have to remind myself that most of the world and everyone I'm talking to has never had that kind of experience that you can just remember like during, anything. And it's just like, oh yeah, like don't take this too seriously.
yeah. No, I love that. Like my brain just went to, yeah, you're enough. Like
Yes.
you're enough.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Well, okay. Do you have your clients write journal and stuff like that?
I don't I don't have them do anything. I give
Okay.
them the option, right? Like so the way that I look at the therapeutic process is I am a conduit and a mirror for whatever is happening in the room. And I remind them of that all the time. I'm like, if it's happening in here, it's happening elsewhere.
Hmm.
And if I am holding it up and you don't like the way that it sounds, then that's what we talk about.
Right.
And then I present the option. I was like, you can journal, you can do breath work, you can do experiential work. You can lay on the floor and just feel held and look up at the ceiling and talk to yourself and have um, the internal critic and your most current version of yourself have an argument,
Hmm.
knowing that you're being held by the ground. Like, so the option's there. I don't, I don't, um, I give homework,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day, I can't make anybody do anything.
Right.
Like if, and I make the joke when people get to me, I'm like, I said, it might suck that you're here and also you're here. And I said, and you went through some stuff and you're here. I said, so if you got to me, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I can't take credit for that language either. That's another trauma therapist that I was lucky enough to, be able to be in class with. And it's like I like transformational therapeutic interventions.
Hmm.
That is why I do sex therapy. That is why I do grief therapy. That is why I do trauma therapy because you're not a fun place because people are like, ooh, sex therapy. I'm like, yeah, no,
I
not what
bet
you think.
right. I exactly.
I'm
I,
like, I'm like,
no
talk about the other underlying things that are actually there that are getting in the way of you being a sexual being.
feelings.
What? Communication? No, we don't talk.
Right.
We just
Yeah.
intuit and assume.
Yeah, exactly. It's you know,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's nobody has any idea what it's like until you actually experience it. And
No one wants to talk about the stuff that I'm talking about because it's
mhm.
all uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about their worst traumatic day. No one wants to talk about the day that their life changed because they lost someone or the concept or the idea of themselves as who they were.
Yeah.
Like in that, like, and the one I hate saying it this way, but it's the way that it comes up in my mind. We all, as a collective planet, went through an earth-shattering experience with the concept of loss 5 years
Hmm.
ago.
Yeah.
We lost the idea of safety.
Hmm.
We lost the idea of what it meant to connect. We lost the idea of closeness. Like,
Hmm.
and then you compound other traumatic experiences and then grief pieces that happen within that experience and the loss of connecting the way that we thought we could because there was this little parameter that was put around us.
Yeah.
What a cluster.
Yeah.
And
It was.
it, I'm like, bro. But you face those things, and we all had to face it in some way.
Yeah.
So we all know what it's like to be traumatized, to go through grief, and to feel disconnected.
Hmm.
And then that reminds me of like, okay, be a human. Like be a good human. Don't You're not perfect. You're gonna screw up. You're gonna mess up. You're fine just the way you are.
Hmm.
To your point, get back in touch with that cyclical nature of the breath and the heartbeat. Like, and the
Yeah.
way that you put it is just such a beautiful conceptualization.
But it's so simple.
But
We're the
so hard to do, man. Easy to talk about, hard
we're
to practice.
we're the ones that complicate life. We're the ones that overcomplicate everything. Our
Yeah.
egos are the ones that overcomplicate everything because we try so hard to convince ourselves that we're not enough
Yeah, absolutely.
to have this
Absolutely. Like, I need
experience.
more.
Yeah.
No, no, you don't.
Yeah.
You're more. You
Right.
woke up today. You're more than you were the day before. That's like, I'm Doctor. No, I can't say that because that's copyright infringement. I'm
But
a poet and I didn't know it. There we go. We'll go that
there you
route.
go. There you go. But it is very true. It's when you start to peel away, when you start to take things off the table,
Hmm.
and then, you're left with just a few things on the table that really, let you know who. what identity you believe yourself to be.
Mm.
Um, you really understand what makes you tick, why you have certain desires, why you have certain isms, like everything like that. And when you take the last few things off and you really understand what's going on, uh, and you get the real truth
Mhm.
that you came from everything,
Mhm.
you will return to everything,
Mhm.
and you're just experiencing a state of change by being separate, by the illusion of separation.
Well, you're
So,
cute because humans hate change, man.
yes, we do. We
Like,
absolutely do.
when-
And like we're at we are in I remind myself daily, especially in these times, that we are in an extremely, extremely special time of the end of a big cycle
Yeah.
where we are going through the most drastic changes, the most extreme things are happening. Everything is on 11. We're not even on 10. We're on
I
11
know.
now.
I don't want to be on 12 though.
I feel like we may hit 12 in 6 months to a year, but here's the thing. Once you hit 12,
Yeah,
it doesn't last that much longer.
that's true.
Like the speakers are gonna blow.
Yeah. And then
And
you're at a
that's
three.
but that's actually where we're trying to get to. We're trying to blow the speakers out.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
can learn, oh, wait a minute. This wasn't a good decision. Because, you know, as
Well, that
humans,
equates to history and learning from history.
it does. It does. But
Uh-huh.
we love to repeat mistakes
Hmm.
and learn the hard way.
Yes, we do. And I can say that in the truest form from myself. That is so damn true.
Yeah.
Because,
Oh, yeah. No,
yeah.
I mean, how the amount of enlightening um unity experiences I've had, just that I know other people will never get close to this in any part of their life. Um, but that being said, I still fuck up all the time. All the time.
But that's the beautiful part. Do we fuck up or do we learn? Was it a piece of education for your betterment in this
Right.
pathway to the end? Because that's the reality.
Yes.
Like we're all
I
heading the same direction. We just
we
don't like looking at it.
yes. That's exactly it. We don't like to see the truth. We like
Hmm.
to distract ourselves from the truth because
I'll be young forever. It's totally fine.
yeah,
And then you wake up and you're like, oh snap, not 22 anymore.
yeah, inevitably we're gonna grow, we're gonna age, you know?
Yeah.
But I I can say this, I can tell I can understand the progress that I've made and the growth that I've made through having interactions with certain people.
Mhm.
And, like, for example, last week I was at work, um, and my job site is a complete and total shit show of a job site. It is crazy how many things are going wrong. I say this roadway is cursed, because it's the roadway. It's on 420 in Delaware County.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I was like, it's just so funny, right? Oh, fucking, they're rebuilding a bridge on Route 420 in Delaware County.
Oh God.
And like whatever can go wrong for this contractor is fucking going wrong. Um, and there's some miscommunication at an upper management that just spills out into, the crews and stuff like that. And while, we're on the side of the line of like, okay, we represent the state and we pay for what gets done, da 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 da, what's documented. We make sure it happens according to specification. And so, on my team, there's two guys who are very, very good at their jobs, very detail orientated, but also I can tell that like some stuff has happened to them, and they are very, like, one of them's very emotionally reactive, and the other one's like a little bit more reserved, but can get really emotionally reactive as well. And then on the other side of the line is the contractor, and there's a whole lot of ego there. And I was in a meeting last week where it erupted into people yelling at each other. Like, I have never been in, any sort of anything like that. And I was just
This
like,
is exciting
well,
and terrifying.
right. And these are all grown ass men yelling at each other and being like, still maintaining, some professionalism, but also being
Sure.
really petty
Yeah.
at the same time. And I'm just sitting there, like, just looking at everybody, like, because like, my identity is not tied to any of this stuff.
No.
Like, I don't identify with my job position. I'm not like, like when people ask me, like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I do a lot of things.
I
I
think I
know
do.
what you meant, but I do
Yeah.
a lot of things. There's no
Hmm.
one thing that actually really defines me. It's a whole
Yeah.
bunch of things. But these guys are just like, my job is my identity.
Yeah.
It is everything that I am. It was everything
Hmm.
is everything in my everything about my job, my role represents me as a person and what I
Yeah.
stand for. Da, 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 da.
Hmm.
So, there's egos defending that. And it's just like everybody's yelling at each other, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm just picturing them all as children.
Yes. Because
I'm
I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm like, sounds like a bunch of kids on the playground throwing sand.
totally, and I'm sitting here, and I'm listening to it all go down, and I'm imagining them all as children, what they
Yeah.
dressed like, what they acted like,
Mhm.
everything, and that is the moment that I understood, like, the work that I've done on myself, like, where it puts me. To be able to even, like, not even get emotionally involved in this thing because I'm supposed to take a side,
Yeah.
but I'm
You're
just
like,
like,
nah, I'm good. I'm
yeah, I'm
removed.
just like, I don't care enough about this, and I am neutral over this stuff because this stuff is above our heads anyway. The person that's going to make the call is not present right now.
No
They
one in
are
this room has a
way
decisive
right.
moment here.
They are way high up, and we're going to go over specifications that were written years ago. Da, da, da. But the thing is, now, um, the tension that exists
Ooh.
after that is
Hmm.
brutal.
It's
With
like very thick air.
it really is, and I'm just like, man, this thing is gonna go for like 2 more years probably, and like for the patterns that have happened up until this point on the
Hmm.
cursed roadway of 420, I don't see this all of a sudden like hitting like a stride of grace
Doesn't
and
sound like it.
everybody makes up. I
No.
don't
You
see
need
it.
some conflict resolution down that way.
Yeah. So, my only approach to going to work every day and interacting with all these people is just like I'm not a no matter what, there's no part of me that will be emotionally tied to this identity
Oh,
that I temporarily am for 8 hours a day.
yeah. But I like I am sitting here listening to that story and I'm like, I have had several humans in not even just several, but like I'm thinking of the collective of people that I've worked with, and I'm just like, and I was one of them myself. Look, you lovingly gave me a nickname one time.
Daggers. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and that
But you're not daggers anymore.
no.
No.
And it's because of the conversations and the synthesis of that nickname and that discussion that I was like, damn, I am very venomous with my language. And I don't like that side of me.
It was
And if I need it,
playful.
yeah, like if I need it, it's there, but I don't
Yeah.
need to be that all the time.
Right.
And it also came from a deep place of hurt.
Mhm.
And that's like that's me being human, right? And but it is my most lovingly favorite nickname of my many, right? But like I'm like yes, and because it's shown a light on the shadow part of myself.
Mhm.
that was showing up and being like, oh, damn, I don't really like, yeah, I think it's a joke. And also, I recognize that it could probably be really hurtful.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, I have to be very intentional about that. And that is one thing that I've grown very much in all of the work that I've done is my intentionality and my rightness of language, especially the rightness of language inside of my mind. Because I recognize that if I am saying something to myself that is really rotten, and I wouldn't say it to anybody that I love dearly, or even like a maybe not even somebody I love dearly, but like a stranger on the street, why the hell am I saying it to myself?
Hmm.
And oh my God, that is the hardest work I've ever done.
That's the hardest work that anybody can do, though.
Yeah.
Because, and you just nailed it on the head, because it's just like most people have an inner dialogue, an inner critic that they would never speak in that tone to anyone.
Mm-mm.
It's like we're already hard enough on ourselves as it is
Yeah.
without anybody else really dishing it to us, you know?
Right. And then
So,
when somebody does and we hear it and we're like, and then we have to be like, oh, I remember a time where I might have said, uh,
mhm,
damn, okay.
yeah, yeah. But I'm the same way. It's very easy for me. It's very easy for me to catch my critic while it's speaking and be like, ah, I know what you're doing. I know who you are.
I
Like,
see
don't.
it.
I'm not. You're gonna be loud no matter fucking what, but I'm
Yeah.
just not paying attention to you.
Yeah. Like you
Over.
can speak when we need you,
Right.
and that you just sit. Shh.
Yeah. And it's like it's funny. Relationships teach us everything, don't
Oh my
they?
gosh.
So, I've had all kinds of relationships, meaning I've had musical relationships, people in a creative environment, um, people in very physical environments, very sensitive emotional environments. All sorts of different relationships have taught me about me
Mhm.
and how I react, how
Mhm.
I judge, how I
Mhm.
tend to be, how I tend to see things, what lens I'm choosing to see things through. Because you are choosing
Oh
to see
yeah.
it through a lens, whatever
Uh,
lens you land on. It is
uh-huh.
your
Even
choice.
if you're not really aware of it.
Right. And we don't we rarely do we actually back up and say, hang on a second. Let me strip all the meaning from everything.
Hmm.
And then what is there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's my opinion of it.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know?
well, in the throes of anger, hostility, like whatever it is, like that takes enlightenment and awareness and hard work and effort and time and energy. And that's one thing that I learned as well is like time, effort, energy. What am I giving it to? Like if
Hmm.
I'm screaming in the car at somebody that's driving past me, they're not hearing it.
Yeah.
I am.
Hmm.
Why am I wasting my time on screaming at myself? This person is never going to hear it.
Right.
And like, to your point, I've learned to catch. I've learned to catch. I've learned to catch. And it's exhausting, dude. Like that's the part of therapy that people, when they get to it and they recognize, like, I'm exhausted. And I'm like, yeah, keep going. Like
Yeah.
that's I would rather exhaust myself on good things and then make them my habit
Hmm.
and make that my pattern versus being like, I'm just gonna go back to the old ditch that I was in that's well worn.
Yeah.
Because like, yes, it's useful, but it's also like kind of sucked.
Hmm.
I'd like to keep growing, even though sometimes vulnerability and relationships and things like that create connection and discussion that are really hard and difficult to do.
Well, it's again, it's part of this temporary experience
Yeah.
that we get to have.
Yeah, we do get to have it.
It it should be a reminder that you get to have this experience.
Mhm.
You don't have to have it. You get to
No.
have it,
Yeah.
you know? And like uh, the first person, the first guest that I had on this whole thing, his name is Sam, and he's a very enlightened human being, and he's just very knowledgeable about health and wellness, fitness, everything like that, but also like very knowledgeable about his soul and everything like that. And I said, um, you know, at a deeper level, you and I have both, and probably speaks to you as well. We've gone this path to know thyself, so we can help
Yeah.
everybody else. So how can you possibly help if you don't have experience with knowing all the parts of yourself, how you operate, your patterns, which you tend to fall into, yada yada yada. And then when you start to see how vast you are,
Oh my gosh.
then you can understand how vast somebody else is as well, you know? And like, okay.
The crazy wild ocean, sky,
Yeah.
horizon.
Uh-huh. And it's it's very eye-opening because once you actually like have that moment where you realize that the only thing that you ever experience is your version of an experience. You
Hmm.
never it's the the ultimate emotionally empathetic human that can merge with another human and feel to 100% of that person's experience. That is, I mean, that's like a superhuman power.
Right.
Not
And
not too many people can do that.
no, and also think about the capacity that one has to have in order to be able to do that,
Mhm.
and the
Yeah,
energy and the effort.
and how much self-work
Yeah, oh God.
they would have had to gone through.
So is that like the last day of awareness in your life?
I
We'll find out when we get there, right?
yeah, exactly. Like,
I ain't rushing towards it. Like that's not the plan.
no, no. And so for me, it's like I almost had a preview of something else besides this.
Yeah.
And the reason I think of it that way is because it didn't happen once, it happened twice.
Okay.
So, uh, and on very heroic doses of different things. So that,
Heroic. I love that. I'm sorry.
and,
I thank you for that language because that's amazing.
but, um, and also not done intentionally, done by accident.
Yeah.
So that's the funny part because, I wouldn't have done this intentionally. It just so happened that it happened by
You
accident.
meandered down a path of different forks in the road.
Right. Like took too much, man, too much, took too much. So it just produced this experience that was just like, well, you're here now.
Yeah.
So, um, but like that being said, the only way that I can describe it is having a life review
Mm,
where you experience moments of your life from the other person's point of view that you share the experience with. So you feel everything that they felt being around you and how you were reacting.
interesting.
And um, I mean,
No,
I've
that's incredible because you're like it's
I've never been more humbled
yeah, because it's
by
the
anything.
cognition of putting yourself in someone else's shoes,
Yeah,
almost almost as if you're like forced to, and you're like, oh, that's what that felt like. Oh, okay.
right. And it happened what felt like infinity while I was in those states. So, because I'm outside of time. Time just does not exist anymore in these states. So, uh, it was just a reminder of like, and I didn't understand it at the time while it was happening. It took me years of reading near-death experiences, reading reincarnation experiences, studying occult teachings and knowledge and everything like
Mhm.
that to actually understand what was happening,
Mhm.
and understand the language for what was happening.
Yeah.
And uh, it just kind of like left me with this knowing of like this is what happens after you leave like your temporary ego. Like you basically you expand outside of like the central focus of like what your soul is, and you expand, and as you expand you experience more of what your experience was. And like was isn't the right word. It's just like this is the the whole of everything that was part of your experience, and everyone in it was you. Like that's the thing. It's like the the trick, the cosmic joke was that you were always interacting with yourself
Yeah.
no matter what.
Hmm.
Every single thing you ever did, you were always interacting with yourself. And it was like it dawned on me like why there's a smile on the Buddha face,
Yeah.
and like everything like that. So all every like little occult mystery
Hmm.
that I came across, once everything sort of fell into place, it was just like now I understand like what those experiences were. I have the language and everything else that like it makes sense. It's like, oh, like I said before, we're the ones that make this hard and complex.
Yeah.
It's really not that hard. Well, I guess, you wouldn't be able to have the experience if at the beginning it was just like, so you're going to have this experience,
And you're like, so what do I have to look forward to?
everything that you're doing, it's just you.
Yeah.
So you might feel like it's not you. You might feel separate from it. That's all bullshit. It's you, no matter what. If you just remember that,
Yeah.
uh, you'll have a way different experience. But, of course,
But that's what we learn.
it's a great mystery of like
It is.
why there's, thousands of incarnations to get to it.
Oh my God. Like, look, there are some like little fun, deathful places that I travel to, and I'm like, man, where was this 20 years ago? And I'm like, well, you weren't meant to have it.
Yeah,
It's that beautiful statement of like, you're right. And I like for a long time I really resented this statement that like you're right where you need to be.
it's true.
Because yeah, because you're sitting there and you're like, really, this is what I needed. This is what I needed to go through, really.
Yeah.
And you become a little bit resentful. And then you look at the resentment and you're like, okay, well, if you can step back, like if you do the zoom out, right? Like, and you say, okay, well, what's the purpose of this inside of a lesson? What education am I receiving? What things do I need to understand and comprehend about myself in my experience and like grow? Then yes, you can cultivate that lens and that growth edge of like, okay, yeah, I understand. I am right where I need to be. I needed this grit
Hmm.
to cultivate a little bit of movement.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good in the moment. And
No.
also if you can allow yourself to be reflective and have the gratitude around it, good stuff. Good stuff will come from it.
Hmm.
Not in the moment, you're not gonna feel you're not feeling that then.
No.
Yeah.
No. But
But
it's
you said
important that you
something and
know
my
that.
brain went to the tune in, drop out, like the Timothy Leary, like that piece that you were discussing. And he like you go into yourself and you said, you drop out of time and you're like in this experience and it's
Hmm.
and you're just going through it. And like that was one of the big pieces that led me down the pathway of understanding all of those types of experiential components
Hmm.
of doing like psychedelic psychotherapy. Like what an amazing synthesis.
Yeah.
I can't wait for what they put on the map for that.
I'm hopeful that they will refine um, the process of being able to use psychedelics for psychotherapy,
Mhm.
um, that works
Yep.
because and I'm not when I was younger and a little bit more naive,
Well,
I had I had the hopes and dreams that the psychedelic experiences that I had, if everybody could just have these experiences, the world would be
yeah.
such a different place, yada yada yada. And fast forward to now with uh how you know how some psychedelic experiences and everything in like the wellness industry, everything have
Hmm.
completely jumped the shark into like
Hmm.
weird grift territory. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no,
Um,
no, no,
well,
no, no, no.
you don't get the good spectrum without the bad
Right,
spectrum, dear.
exactly, exactly. But also, like, I had some experiences with people that were, um, what's the right word? I don't even know the right word, but I guess you could say, they don't, uh, they don't cure somebody from kind of being an asshole.
Yeah.
They just don't.
No,
Um,
they can affect behavior, but not personality.
right. And yeah, exactly, exactly.
Mm.
That's exactly it. Again, and it kind of speaks to what I was just saying about like a lot of people having like an enlightened experience in like the new age community being like, wait a minute, I can cash in on this. It's like,
Well,
well,
you
well,
you are preaching to the choir over
did
here.
you really get the message or,
You just trying to monetize the message.
and I I I
I do too.
understand. I
Look, it
understand.
six, what is it? It's the six in one and half dozen in the other. Like, yes, we want to see benefit, but at what cost?
Hmm.
And so one thing I can share, and I think you already knew this. Like I did training for ketamine assisted psychotherapy to be a provider for that.
Hmm.
And while I have no problem doing that, one of the bigger things, like, and I had done it for trauma treatment, and I had positive experiences, but one of the biggest things that I learned was intention set and setting.
Hmm.
If you are not ready, willing, and able to deal with the things that will come up, then it might not go. So to your
According
point
to
of,
plan. Yeah.
right, like again, like to your point of like, it's not going to change somebody's personality.
No.
Like that, the only person that can change a person's personality, and like even then, if it's like real well rooted, good luck. Like, and I'm not saying that people can't change. They
Yeah.
absolutely can, but it has to be of their own volition, and they have to be the person that enacts it, that
Yeah.
wants it. It can't be because somebody else wants it. It can't be because somebody down the street said you should do this thing. Like you have to be like, and I say this all, and it leans back to motivational interviewing. You have to be ready. You have to be willing. You have to be able. If any of those are one percentage or even like a smidgen of percentage off, change is not going to occur.
Yeah. You're right.
And
A person has to be ready to change.
yeah, and that's it's hard. It's hard work, especially when you're saying, "Oh, well, this thing outside of me can synthesize and make me better."
Hmm.
No, no,
No, that's just the illusion.
yeah, like that's all math.
Yeah.
And you're also like I like to like look, I like to have a drink with the rest of it, but at a certain point in time, you're numbing,
Hmm.
you're emptying, you're avoiding. Not everybody wants to face that. And like, look, people can do whatever they want to do. That's their lives.
Right. Right.
And I respect that.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, what's the purpose? What's the point? What's
At
your
the
intention?
right. At the end of the day, you're the one that is either honest with yourself or dishonest with yourself.
Ooh, girl, we lie so bad to ourselves.
You know?
We're cute.
But
We're
it's
so cute.
true. It's very true.
Mhm.
And it always it brings me to this place. I'm just like, when you meet somebody that has such or not even meet, or when you know somebody or you see somebody like in uh in some sort of big role or whatever, and they have like this
Yeah.
this ego that is like, how could you be so
Hmm.
self-centered that you don't like recognize what your actions are doing to everyone else around you? Like, are you that are you're just
Yeah.
I don't think you understand at night like what you're doing, you know?
Well, that's attributing your level of awareness onto people that really don't have it.
But and exactly, and I'm able to reel myself back in and be like,
Right.
you know what? Why are you even thinking that for that person? Like that is that person's journey. That is
Yeah.
that soul's journey of trying
Why do
trying
I
to
care what they're
remember.
doing?
Right, right.
No, but I love it. And that's why I always love having these discussions with you because it's like, it's this level of depth of like recognizing like the level of self-awareness and I'm not ever going to proclaim to be the most like Buddha on the mountain. Like, that's why Buddha was Buddha. That is not me.
Right.
And I joke a lot, like, I'll say look, there's already a Mother Teresa and a Mahatma Gandhi. And I'm like, and I am so thankful for them. And also, I know enough about myself to know that that is not me. And I would like to be there one day. But if it's not part of my journey, it's not part of my journey. And also, I'm thankful enough to have the level of self-awareness that I have, that I've cultivated at this point. And I have to kind of like check myself and be like, why do you think this person is thinking what you're thinking? They're not. They don't know. And that's not like it's not my job to educate people on like, well, this is, you should consider other people. No, no. Like that. And this is where like I make my little therapist jokes. I'm like, you could pay me and I'll tell you that, but
Right.
like I truly believe that like when people are ready, what's the saying? I'm a huge fan of sayings, clearly. When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Teacher Pierce. Yeah.
Yeah. Like and I give a little aside, that's my next big hurdle that I also found out Monday.
Really? Okay.
I'm going to be an adjunct professor and teach psychology in the court.
This is great news. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you.
I'm like, and drop the
Wow.
mic. Buddy, I've been busy.
It fits though.
I'm excited.
It fits.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
like I'm,
excited for you.
thank you. But yeah,
Yeah.
like new what is it? New level unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, would you say that um, being on the show was a catalyst that set a lot of other things in motion?
Oof. I wouldn't mm,
Or no? Just
I
it was
wouldn't
like,
say the show did that.
okay.
I would say I like you know, but I will share for the benefit of like what we're talking about because I lost someone very dear and near to me,
Hmm.
and I was already on a path.
Hmm.
And these have always been thoughts in my mind's eye
Right.
of like, what do I want to do? Like, I always want to learn. Like, that was the reason why I decided to do social work and get my license and get everything. So for social workers, you have to get your master's, which is one test, and
Mhm.
3,000 hours worth of supervision and all this other stuff. Yeah. For your licensed clinical social work degree, it's another 3,000 hours and supervision and a second test so that we can diagnose underneath the DSM so that insurance can get paid.
Wow.
We'll talk about that another day.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so we have these levels and
Hmm.
these state licensures that we have to go through. And so for social workers, we have to go through two if you want to be an LCSW.
Hmm.
Um, so with all of that being said, you do these things, you jump through these hoops, and then you get to the show, right? And you're like, okay, so this is it. This is okay. I'm just going to be a student for life, which was already part of my path.
Yeah.
I have to do 30 continuing education credits every 2 years so I can keep my license.
Hmm.
And I also have to be in good standing. I can't get a little no-no and be in trouble and do unethical things. Like I'm very thankful for my legal background because it keeps my ethics and my legalities like strict top notch.
Hmm.
And then I was like, well, what do I want to do if I don't want to do this all the time? And I was like, well, I always wanted to be a teacher.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, what do I need to do that? And then that's what, like, so the loss of Amy set forth like a little bit of like, um, what the hell are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
It's really short. Not push yourself harder, but sh she meant so much
Hmm.
and she gave me so much.
Yeah.
And I just want to be able to give back to the people that have given me so much in life. And like I have a lot of handfuls of people and I'm very lucky to have it,
Hmm.
and but that put me in a hyperdrive of like, you dark night of the soul kind of journey.
Hmm.
And so I went to school and I started doing grief counseling, doctorate work. And then I was like, you know what? What else do I want to do? And I was like, it's all part of my healing journey. So, like, me doing these things was a way to heal myself and give back.
Yeah.
And that's what I want my life to be.
Hmm.
How do I heal myself? How do I grow? How do I get back? How do I heal myself? How do I grow? No, I don't want any more big, gigantic, huge moments. I've had enough. Like I've started at a very young age losing people,
Yeah.
which kind of put me in the path that I was.
Hmm.
And that she was the kind of catalyst for what I will say about the show. I will say this. I feel like that was her gift to me
Okay.
because she was an up and coming, very profound sex therapist.
Hmm.
And I will do the synthesis of all of these things. The day that her hearing ended, a week later, was when I got the phone call to interview for the show.
Wow.
Yeah,
Little synchronicities lead us
exactly.
into the right flow.
Yeah. And the day that the show aired was the day that I got the job for the teaching. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what?
Talk about magic.
No shit.
Yeah.
I was like, well, okay,
Yeah.
we're doing this.
Yep.
And like I'd put my like I had just kind of like looked at stuff that I was interested in. I was like, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do that. We'll see about that. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, ooh, this feels right. I was like, this fits the like criminology side of me, and this fits the therapy side of me.
Mhm.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you,
I
man.
really
Like,
am.
look, dude, I'm excited for you because what I'm like now I'm gonna go to song lyrics and I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. Like big shit popping, little shit stopping, right?
I so uh hearing you talk about, everything tonight brings me it always reminds me of when hearing somebody's life journey and their life path and like how certain things, how they were in certain situations that they, at the time there's just like, well, why the fuck am I here? Why is this happening to me? Da-da-da. And hindsight is 2020, but it all leads to something. And um, that theme was a big part of the Robert Greene book, Mastery. So Robert Greene has just such an like unique way of painting people's history, like famous people from history that have done amazing work with their life, and highlighting like periods of their life where um, maybe they were going through like a struggle for a reason, that really molded them in a way that at the time you wouldn't have thought, but it was like the crucible that basically forged them to do the great thing that they ended up doing later on, and now they're in history books because of it. So I truly do feel that all of the things, all of the chapters that you've gone through to really like refine yourself as a therapist, and now you're going to be a teacher. I think you are very directly in the flow of like living your true will, you know, if I could put it in alchemical and occult terms.
Yes, please. I'm on my hero's journey,
Yeah.
and I am happy to be that fool every time.
Yeah. And, I get to witness it.
Yeah.
Just
Look,
even
babe, I get to witness yours, and look, I I see you, I hear you, and I echo you.
watch out.
Yes. I'm ready. I'm ready to see
Yeah.
it.
No, I think we're both doing good stuff. And when I check in with somebody I haven't seen for a while, they're just like, "Oh, how you doing?" Da, da, da. I'm just like, "All good things."
Yeah,
A lot of things, but
yeah,
all good things.
yeah.
And it's a constant reminder that um, it all goes by in such a flash too.
Oh my gosh.
Like
Seriously.
everything's been, I turn
Weren't we
around, I'm
just at
like, I just
Stamps yesterday?
right. It's just like it's exactly. Like I turn around and a month is gone. It's just like, holy Christ, what have I done this month? It's just like you did everything.
Yeah,
You just, you were just um, so consumed with doing all the things that you regularly do that you didn't even notice how
yeah,
like 3 months went by, like,
yeah,
and you just came up for a day of air.
yeah.
So
That's when you get to pause and be like, good stuff.
it's true. It's true. It's true.
Mhm.
Like I have to like remind myself to do like a check-in day
I love
once
a
a
good
month.
mindful moment.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
Yes.
it is 9:22. We started around 8 o'clock. So we're gonna put a bookmark.
I love a bookmark.
Yeah. I've been putting bookmarks in everybody at the end of all of these because um like everybody that I've kind of had on this so far is like everybody's inner circle, that will be like reoccurring.
Yeah.
So no doubt, you're gonna do this again with me, and
Thank
we'll
you, my
have
baby. Of course,
yeah,
I gladly,
we
gladly,
will
gladly.
yeah, we'll have more to talk about when the show is over and it has aired and everything, and I've watched it. So then there won't be any spoilers or anything like
Yes,
that.
and trust me, that's such a huge thing. I do the eye roll because I'm just like, I don't know what to say. Bite the tongue.
No, I want to I want to be surprised.
No.
I'm seeing,
And
I get to see one of my dearest friends on fucking reality television. You don't get to. It's not. If we went back to, um, I think we met in
the boathouse.
2008. I think it was 2008.
Mm-hmm.
If I could pinpoint the year. Um, had I known that, number one, we were going to become like lifelong friends, and also you were going to be on a reality television show, down the line. Who know, you never know how life's going to go.
No, never in my wildest dreams was this like what I previewed for me,
Yeah.
being like little hairdresser in Manayunk.
Yeah.
Never.
Now you're all grown up and distinguished.
I don't know how grown up I am. I don't know how distinguished I am,
Well, yeah,
but
neither
maybe
of
on the
us.
outside. Thank you for saying my veneer is distinguished.
Yeah, you're distinguished.
Yeah, man, thank you.
All
Look,
right.
dude, I can't tell you how proud I am of you.
Likewise. I am
Thank you.
gonna stop recording there.
Yes, sweetheart.